What's going on, everybody? Welcome to CS5 Unmasked, bringing you another costume tutorial. Now today's costume tutorial is going to be Jason Part 4, from Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now the look of the costume that I'm going to be making is the Jason from the shower scene, not necessarily the one from the end of the movie. And I'm going to be doing this for under $25. Now I do understand that 25 bucks really isn't a whole lot of money to be making a movie accurate costume with, but I'm going to try my very best, because in all honesty, it does beat the alternative. So, sit back and relax, and welcome to CS5's Cost Cut Costume Tutorials. Alright, let's see what we're gonna need. We're gonna need a mask and a hood, a green work shirt, gray pants, and a pair of dark work boots. So thrift stores are always a great bet to pick up cheap clothes. Now I'm not opposed to shopping online or even hitting the big box stores, but when I can pick up a pair of pants at the Goodwill for around $2, that's typically what I'm going to do. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the knife wound just above the right knee. I'm going to use a scrap piece of cardboard and slide it into the leg of the pants just to make sure they don't cut all the way through. Now using a razor blade or even a pair of scissors, make a small incision just above the right knee. Just reference some photos if you're not sure. Now I'm going to add some blood effects to the knife wound. I'm going to mix a little bit of black and red acrylic paint to simulate the blood. Now I already stuck a piece of cardboard in the leg of the pants because I really don't want the paint to bleed through to the other side. Now the pants look pretty good, but I do want to dirty them up a little bit. So I'm going to be using some black acrylic paint and dilute it down into a spray bottle. And then I'm just going to go over the entire pair of pants, making sure I hit all of the seams, the sides, and even the back. Now being as the pants itself does have some synthetic fibers in it, I'm going to let this dry and then repeat this process as many times as necessary. Now to minimize the mess that I'm going to create, I'm using a couple pieces of scrap plywood so the spray doesn't get everywhere. But if I didn't have any scrap plywood, I would just use some old cardboard. You know, this does look okay, but I want to add a bit more blood. I really want this to actually look like a really bad wound. Now I used a paper towel and I just added a bit more red paint. This really does look a whole lot better. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of diluted black paint and just go over the whole thing. So now the pants are looking pretty good, it's time to move on to the shirt. Now the shirt that we're going to be using today, I also did pick up at the Goodwill for about $2. So I'm going to be using the same technique I did with the pants with the black water solution. Again, make sure I'm covering the entire shirt and even the back. Now I'm going to repeat this step as many times as I need to until I'm reaching the look that I want. Now we're going to add some blood staining to the front of the shirt and to the collar. Now this is from the axe wound that Jason received at the end of part 3. Now again, I'm going to use a piece of scrap plywood just to ensure that the color's not going to run to the back of the shirt. But if I didn't have any plywood, cardboard would work just fine. Alright, to create the blood stain, I'm just going to make some diluted red paint. I'm going to mix it up really well and just apply it to the front of the shirt and to the collar. Now even though it looks quite orange on camera, I assure you it's not. I just got some really bad lighting. Alright, now moving on to the mask. Now being as I'm making a part 4 mask, I'm going to go ahead and keep the strap that actually came with the mask. Now I purchased the mask from Allied Express for just under $2. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand the mask. Now I'm going to be using a sanding sponge which I picked up at the dollar store. Now I'm not really too impressed with the sanding sponge, even though it cost $1. I think I would just spend a little bit extra money to get the real thing. But for this particular application, it did work out just fine. Alright, we're going to go ahead and paint the mask now. Now normally I'd be using meringue spray paint, but I don't want to spend the $4. So I'm just going to be using white and yellow acrylic paint. I'm going to mix them together, apply it to the mask, and then make a determination if I need to add a little more yellow or a little more white to the mix. I'm just going to be using a paper towel to apply the paint. Now I ended up having to do this about 3 times total, just so that I had an even, consistent look. Alright, now that I'm satisfied with the way the paint looks, I'm going to be applying the damage that the axe caused to the mask. So I'm going to be referencing tons of photos and clips from the movie, just to make sure that the mask is looking good. So I'm going to use my Dremel to cut out the axe damage, but if I didn't have a Dremel, a pair of scissors would work just fine. Okay, now we're going to apply some chevrons. Now the chevrons I'm going to be using I did purchase from JDF Studios for around $1, but if you're unable to purchase them, red masking tape will work just fine. Alright, now we're going to add the rest of the damage and scratches to the mask. Now I'm using a pencil to mark out where all the scratches are going to be, and also using an outline of where I'm going to remove the paint. Now even though the sanding sponge really doesn't work that well, it works well enough to scuff some of the paint off key parts of the mask. Now again, I'm referencing tons of photos and watching tons of movie clips, because I really want this mask to look like the one from the film. Now being as I'm making the costume from the shower scene, I'm going to go and remove small portions of the chevrons. So I'm going to be using a razor blade to scrape off some of the paint where the small pieces of chevrons were. Now in all honesty, I probably could use a fork to scrape off the paint, but being as I do have a razor blade, that's what I'm going to use. Now using a little bit of diluted black, I'm going to apply a little bit to the surface of the mask, and then wiping it off as I go, just to kind of give it a little bit of dirty and grimy look. Alright, let's go ahead and add blood to the axe wound. Now I'm just going to be using red acrylic paint, and then I'm going to go over it with a little bit of diluted black. Alright, this mask is looking pretty good. Alright, now for the hood. Now the hood I'm going to be using is actually a zombie mask that I picked up a few years ago. And believe it or not, you can actually still find it online for around $10. Now even though it's just a little bit too big for my head, it's still going to work out just fine. Now we're going to go ahead and add some blood effects to the hood. Now for the axe wound, I'm just going to make a little mark and then apply a whole load of red acrylic paint. This is going to simulate the blood dripping down from the axe wound. Now I know I'm going a little excessive with the red acrylic paint, but it just seemed like it needed a bit more. And again, this is my own personal preference, and I would like to see a bit more. Now forewarning, applying acrylic paint directly to a latex mask may not be a great idea. Once the acrylic paint dries, it's going to start cracking and flaking off. The proper way to do it is actually to mix it with liquid latex, then apply it directly to the mask. But being as we are on a budget, and I'm only going to be wearing it for a few hours, and probably a couple parties afterwards, it's going to work out just fine. Now I'm going to take a little bit of diluted black paint and apply it to the mask, just to make sure that the blood's looking a little more realistic. Now being as one of Jason's ears looks a little different than the other one, now I'm just going to apply some hot glue to the bottom half of the right ear, just so that the top part sticks out a bit. Now again, hot glue is just a temporary solution. Super glue is a better alternative, but I have such terrible luck with super glue, I usually have a tendency of sticking my fingers together. Now the glue sticks I picked up at the dollar store. Now that's looking really good. Now I put a snap on the back of this hood when I bought the mask a couple of years ago. Now that does help with the fit, so if you were to purchase this particular mask online, it's not going to have that snap. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so now for the boots. Now footwear is going to be optional, I'm just going to wear whatever I feel is comfortable. I was able to pick these boots up at the Goodwill for around $4. Now these are a size too big for me, so they're a little bit floppy, but for the price, I just had to get them. Alright, let's go ahead and tally up the cost and see what we got. And as you can plainly see, it is under $25. Alright, let's go ahead and put the costume on and see what it looks like. Alright, I want to thank everybody for stopping by and checking out the video. I really love the way this actually turned out, and I want to continue making more in the future. So if you have any suggestions for costumes you'd like me to try to make in the future, let me know down below. Alright everybody, this is CS5 signing out, and I hope to see you in the next video.